Can I get in trouble in Indiana if I have marijuana in my system? If you are driving in the state of Indiana and you are pulled over and an officer has reason to believe that you are driving while under the influence of a controlled substance, you absolutely can get in trouble in Indiana for having marijuana in your system. In fact, it doesn't even need to be active marijuana. In other words, marijuana can kind of come in multi-compounds. You've got active marijuana, THC, delta 9, and then you also have the inactive metabolite. Well, Matt, that's not fair. Why can I get in trouble if I have inactive metabolite? Well, Indiana law says if you have any controlled substance in your body at the time you're operating a vehicle, you can be charged with a DUI. Now, if you're driving down the road, you get pulled over for speeding, and you don't appear intoxicated, and you don't make any statements to the police, hey, I just smoked a bunch of weed. Hey, I smoked a bunch of weed last week. If there's not reason or probable cause to do a blood draw, then in all likelihood, you're probably okay. Now, where does that potentially escalate? In Indiana, if you get in an accident with another vehicle and one of the parties is severely hurt, in other words, there's some type of serious bodily injury, Indiana law states that the blood of the drivers must be taken. So even if you didn't cause the accident, you did cause the accident, and under any circumstances, an accident occurs, serious bodily injury happens as a result of that accident, blood is going to be drawn. Period. That is the law in the state of Indiana. Now that's extremely important because let's say in that situation, someone had been in a state where marijuana is legal. Let's say Las Vegas, Colorado, places like that. 2 weeks ago, I had a little bit of weed, had an edible to go to help fall asleep, whatever it may be. You get in this accident in Indiana, you might still have, in fact, you probably do still have that inactive metabolite in your bloodstream. So when they take the blood from your arm because of this accident, even if it's an inactive metabolite, you're still going to get charged with a DUI. It is totally not fair. First and foremost, and everyone here would agree that there's definitely some issues with the fact that you could do something legal in one state to get punished weeks later potentially in Indiana. This is why it's very important that if you're ever pulled over and you know in the back of your mind, hey, you know what, maybe I did have a little bit of marijuana. Maybe I did have, an edible a few weeks ago. I was on a trip, whatever. You don't want to offer up that information to the police. Hey, Mr. Officer, I had marijuana a week ago. Because you're building probable cause at that point. So if the officer doesn't have a reason to, there's no reason for you to then offer that information. You're just talking yourself into more trouble. We say out at the Marc Lopez Law Firm every single time. Remember, always plead the fifth. We don't just say that because it's a tagline. We say it because it's true. If you have an interaction with a law enforcement officer, the odds are you're going to talk yourself into trouble versus talking yourself out of trouble. So if you find yourself in a situation where you get pulled over, you can absolutely get in trouble for having marijuana in your bloodstream. So don't give officers reasons to then offer you a blood test. The only way they're guaranteed to get it is if there's an accident with serious bodily injury. So if you find yourself in a situation, remember, give us a call, 317-632-3642. And remember, always plead the fifth.